G'day folks. Today Dos and the fam are trying to escape the strong winds and pitiful tides in the Gladstone area. We catch up with them as they make the hike out to the 1770 lookout to survey the situation. When the conditions are favourable, good fishing can be done from the rock ledges at the base of the cliffs. However today
I wouldn't exactly say the conditions are favourable. There's certainly a lot of strong wind down here and the swell to go with it. G'day champions, and thanks for joining us on another adventure. Here we are down at 1770, having a look off the headland to see which way these waves are rolling in from, see if we can find anywhere to fish around here. Or maybe there'd be a little bit of protection behind the headland, but it doesn't seem to matter which way we look here, those waves certainly are rolling on in. Even the sheetrock, the waves are busting up over it, so there's no way we can get down there with the kids. We're just going to have to look for somewhere else to fish. We briefly went down to Chinaman's Beach here at 1770, that's just south of where the headland is, but she was no good there, so the kids decided they'd have a bit of a chat with some of the locals, see if we could find somewhere that's going to be a little bit more protected, a little bit more sheltered. And you know what, we decided we might head up to Eurimbula Creek in the national park and try our luck there.
the best place to gain access to Eurimbula Creek is through the Eurimbula Creek campgrounds. The campgrounds are located 29 kilometers north of Agnes waters by road, although they say to allow a solid hour. And that's because 2/3 of the track is dirt. We catch up with Dos and the team as they approach their first obstacle.
So we've had some rain, there's a bit of water lying around. It's always a good idea to walk these things if you haven't been through them before. Although we had a couple of lads dropped up who said they'd been through it earlier in the day, it wasn't any high. So away they went, and we were going to follow them. There was almost no run here, and after seeing the guys go through in front of us, we knew the water wasn't ever going to be up to the cat of the ute, so Hilux breeze through this, and let's hope there's no more big obstacles on the way out. There was another little causeway that was concreted on the bottom, so we knew it was solid. And other than a few ruts and a lot of big puddles, the track was pretty well maintained. As you can see here, the tracks are wide enough that you can sort of get around the most of it, but it's always good to have some recovery gear there just in case the worst happens. Some of these puddles were unavoidable, none of them were too deep on this track. We did notice the Eurimbula to Turkey Beach track was closed on the way out, so that one must have some serious water line on it. As we slowly snake our way through the scrub and inevitably get closer to the coast, we notice a lot more water lying around. These holes are getting quite a bit deeper. You'll also notice that the dry country on either side of the track that normally supports cattle and other sort of agriculture gives way to this wallomy sort of rainforest with plenty of ferns and palms guarding the edge of the track. It wasn't long until we come to something that was blocking our track. Now old mate here, he wasn't interested in getting out of the way for the car. He was happily sunbaking here on the sand. But we didn't want to run the risk of running him over, so I thought I'd get out of the car and give him a bit of a chase up this tree. Pretty similar to the one we seen back at Aggie. Probably mates. Off you go, buddy. Get up there out of the way and out of danger. And just like that, we're at Eurimbula Creek camping area. Now to find the creek and where to line. The kids might have been pretty content climbing this big bit of driftwood washed up on the beach. But it was time Caitlin and I got a line in. What's that? It wasn't long till we hooked our first fish. Obviously the tides were still pretty deep here and you can see the wind roaring and the waves breaking in the background, but, you know, it's a fish. A little live herring. It's not what I was expecting. Not big enough to keep, but good to get something. I got that brim on a live bait, and while I was looking for more, Caitlin seems to have hooked something a little bit more substantial. I thought you dragged. Wanted him. I reckon it'll be a shark, but bring it in. Is it around the tree? It's a shark. Again, not the target species, but it put up a pretty good fight. Get away from my toes, even on heavy gear. Now the trick's going to be to get that deer back out of its mouth.
Yeah. I didn't get him. He's got his mouth open.
Were you swimming out there before? Yeah. The kids had been having a splash in the shallows, but not going out too deep. But there's plenty of people in this estuary that are having a proper swim. And I mean, these guys are probably always out there. A bull shark of this size, probably not too much danger of your life, unless he bites you somewhere where you really don't want to be bitten, but they can easily take a few fingers or toes. So I'm trying to keep my hands clear while I try and de-hook him and try and get this guy back in the water without suffering too much. Can I give him a kiss?
No, thank you. Here, get a photo.
Ready?
Hang on, I've got a...
He managed to get this guy unhooked without any real damage to himself. He was only just hooked in the lip. He was still pretty unhappy and decides he's going to try and take a few fingers as I release him. Look how close he gets. That cheeky dog. But he ends up back in the water. I get to keep all my fingers and it's a good day for the little shark. Start wandering a bit, see if it's on there. Lift it up. Oh, I'll bring it in, it might be a little brim. I'll wait for a better strike, I guess. Yeah, he must have. Don't tighten it too much, it's only light line. Lift him up. Another beautiful little brim, a common fish in the estuaries. Yeah, nice little brim. Heavy pushing legal, but we generally don't eat these unless they're massive or we're camping, so. Nah, let him go. Beautiful. Give him a kiss. Come on. Off he goes. Whilst we've been here fishing, I've noticed the kids are up to something. They've stolen a little bit of bait and have been scared him off. If you didn't know, Eurimbula Creek's actually a no crab zone. It's a crabbing sanctuary, so there's heaps of crabs. They've got some bait in the water and waiting for the crabs to get close and trying to grab them, but they're a little bit concerned they're going to get pinched and sort of back out at the last minute. So I guess it is a no crab zone, but these girls will eventually build their confidence up. Grab him! Sure, they'll be catching crabs in no time. I think Eurimbula Creek is a pretty special spot. There's not that many places left where you can get out of the towns, have a bit of a fish, see some wildlife and let the kids run a little bit wild while you have a bit of a fish, and it would be an awesome place to camp. I think it's somewhere we're definitely going to have to revisit, maybe when the weather's a bit better and maybe with a boat. But it's time for us to get out of here today and start to make the long trek back through the rainforest. Along these dusty tracks, especially on dusk, you need to be aware of wildlife that might be coming out to feed, nocturnal creatures, such as scrub turkeys you might have to wait for to get off the road, all sorts of other creepy crawlies out there. Unfortunately for this guy, he'd been clipped by a car earlier in the afternoon. You can see his back's kinked there, which unfortunately means it's broken and he can only move the top 8 inches of his body. I thought, as sad as it is for this little tree snake, it was a great learning experience for the kids to get up close and personal with a non-venomous fairly docile snake. Obviously this guy had seen better days, so he wasn't incredibly happy, but I thought it's an opportunity that we shouldn't waste.
Yeah, do you remember
Sadly,
that video?
in Queensland, even this guy will not survive. It would be illegal for me to put him in his misery, as all reptiles and native animals are protected. So we leave him to his fate on the side of the road as we continue to wind our way out of the rainforest.
Thanks for tagging along on this adventure, and if you would like to support our channel, please subscribe. It's free. Also follow along on Facebook, Instagram and now the TikTok.